Oh, just like so. Talk to me.
Yeah, just clip it back. You know, they be trying to make you get a new phone.
Right?
It ain't happening.
Hi, sissy.
Capitalism.
But if you click on it, it'll go back to one. Okay, because
Thank you so much.
they swear.
Oh, you look like you're
I
versed
gotta
in the
get
ways
it
of.
upgraded.
Hey, Mrs.
Thank you.
Oh, hi.
Hi, twin.
Okay. Perfect.
I'm an afterthought.
Not the seconds. Not the seconds.
Oh, by the way.
Hello.
She told you what I need too.
Sorry. Hi, everyone. I want to we're honoring Black Birth, and we're also honoring your time. Thank you so much for choosing to be with us today, and we'll let things flow as they flow. Folks flow as they come. But we do want to go ahead and get started with this conversation. We're just going to start with a really brief introduction so you know who is in the space talking to you today and the why. So my name is Risa Rollins. I am honored, truly, to be able to serve as moderator for this conversation. Who's Risa? Risa is the mother of 3 only children. That is a thing. I have a 30-year-old son who was my first walking, talking heartbeat, daughter who just turned 22 on Monday, and then an 11-year-old son who keeps me on my toes. He's truly the oldest of my 3 children. Honestly, how does that happen? And so the experience of Black birth as a Black mom with Black babies in this world is something that I treasure and helps to really define, inform, and transform who I am and how I am in space. And what I do and how I show up is truly in service to wanting to leave a world behind that I am proud to leave to those young ones who give me so much life, love, light, and inspiration. And so that's why I get to be in this space. There's other things professionally, but that's why I get to be in this space. And I'd like for Charity, oh, sorry, Sandra, Charity's over there. Sandra to introduce herself.
Hey, y'all. First and foremost, I'm a being of love, light, and energy. And it is by the grace of the Creator, the tenacity of our ancestors, the solidarity and the fight with my siblings for liberation, and for the joy of our youth that I have the opportunity to serve in various realms of this work. The muscle that I typically flex within my ways of being is policy. I come to call myself a policy griot, essentially the storyteller for my people on a legislative level and really on a community people level. I fight and I am in joy with reproductive justice movement in the spirit of the reproductive justice framework, believing that truly we shall be in spaces and communities where we can thrive and we have access to do just that. I serve to really be able to experience Black joy, full and true and through. I too am a mother, and that is important to me because really my son, my pregnancy, my birth experience has brought me into this work. And the phenomenal community I was welcomed into for this work was a community of joy and a village of sisters and brothers who loved and cared on me. And I wanted to share that with my family, and I wanted to share that deeper with my community. And that brought me into the birth justice, and then reproductive justice, and then Black liberation work in space. So my son, he humbles me into humanity every day, and he helps me to remember the core of I am. He helps me to remember who we are as a community, as a people, and I'm a proud Black mama, and every day as a doula, and as a social justice doula, so whether I'm in the policy space or if I'm in the birth room, carrying the spirit of our ancestors, carrying the love of my siblings, and carrying that joy of my son and our future generations is how I honor and why I honor Black birth.
Thank you. Lora?
Hi, everyone. My name is Lora Gulley, and I want to start by saying I, too, am a proud Black mama. And I think that is my entry into this space, one that I claim and am most proud to claim. I also think that kids can drive you crazy, but if you can maintain that level of sanity through that, you have some badges of honor. But I wear those badges proudly. I also, when I think about my journey in this work, have come to it through stories of people that are most close to me. And I carry forward my mom's birth story that I hope to be able to share with you all today as one that I wouldn't be sitting here had we followed or had she followed her first instinct. But I, at my day job and what I do is centering those voices of those that may not have a voice in the room or in community. And I work for Generate Health as a chief operating officer, but the journey is in relation with community. And we don't do anything without the voices of those, that's our why. And so when I think about what the data says, when I think about what the stories and the lived experiences are, those voices, those experiences I carry with me everywhere I go. The rooms that I sit in, whether I'm in Jefferson City or here in St. Louis or in Washington, D.C. somewhere, those voices do not leave me. And that is the why behind pushing forward and going that extra, because that is valuable and it is what is necessary, and that's what I'm proud of most.
Hi everyone, my name is Monique Gill, and I entered this space. I was not a mom. I was just working with families in the mental health space and perinatal families specifically. And so it was interesting for me to be exposed to some of the data and experiences of moms and families before becoming a mom, and just thinking, oh, I think I know how this is going to go for me. I think I know what I need to do. And as I became a mom and started experiencing some of the stories that I was hearing, as it became more real to me, and it became more of a passion for me. And so I think I worked in the field about 2 years before I knew this is my space. This is where I want to be. And specifically how I impact destigmatizing mental health in Black families, and specifically highlighting how there's a nuance in providing care in the Black mental health space. And so that's what I do day in and day out. I provide mental health services for perinatal families. I also provide oversight of a program that is interested in building community partnerships so we can better understand how to communicate messages of improving mental health in the Black community where there is still a stigma about that. And so I am very honored to be here on this panel, and I'm grateful to go on this journey with you all today.
Thank
and
you.
I also am a proud mom, I didn't get to that part, of 3 daughters. And I was advanced maternal age when I had all 3 of mine. And so that experience was also interesting for me to go through as someone who had 2 over 40. And so, yeah, I hope that I kind of weave that in today as well.
Thank you, Monique. Charity?
Hi, everybody. I'm Charity. Most have always known me as Doula Bean. I am a mother. My wonderful son will be 18 next month. I know you can't see it. Don't worry about it. With that being said, my why. So I was a teen mother, actually. So I'm 36. I had my son when I was 18. He's a product of that ice storm of 06 that crept up on us, but here we are. So that is a part of my why. And that experience and that journey through pregnancy and motherhood and being young and not even knowing who I was at the time, not feeling as supported as I thought I would want to be, and also just always trying to operate in what I was taught, which was to be a strong Black woman from my mom and my aunts and everyone around me. And when I was literally drowning in depression and nobody witnessing it, because I thought all I had to do was just operate robotically and just push through this experience because this is what I'm supposed to do, because I never actually saw these women show emotion or, show when they were struggling, because they hid it from us, right? And that, as well as working in the medical field for about now 15 years, and all of the things I've seen people experience, especially surrounding women's health and maternal health, led me to be the person that I am per my report card. Great student, but she talks too much. and decided that I'm gonna make some changes. So I don't wait on people, I just do it myself. With that being said, I am the founder of the Doula Lab Pregnancy Resource Center located in Belleville, Illinois. So I am here representing Illinois, and of course, like the air, I am literally everywhere trying to make change nationwide, but specifically focusing on the state of Illinois, southern Illinois, which tends to be forgotten since we're nowhere near Chicago, but so close to St. Louis. And just helping people realize, hey, we're here, and the people in my surrounding communities, such as East St. Louis, Cahokia, Shiloh, Belleville areas, we're in a maternal health desert. And people are truly suffering. And so that was a part of my why to get into this work. And I am also a student midwife.
Awesome. Y'all, this panel, right? Thank you. Yes, please. Thank you. So that's who we are. So why? Why are we having this conversation? We know the experience of birthing is very varied, right? There's a lot of interpersonal, like emotion. There's nothing more like personal and intimate than that experience of birthing. But we also know that we exist and walk through this experience within the context of community and systems, right? We know that systems are designed in certain ways based on policy. So we talk about our policy griot here. And that there are things that systems level and interpersonally impact and influence both our experience and our outcomes when it comes to honoring Black birth, Black moms, Black babies, all the things, right? And so we wanted to just have a conversation. So when we thought about what we wanted this to look like, we didn't want to sit here with the slideshow and talk about all the things and the data and the numbers and the things. But we did want to have a conversation. And so I'm sharing this with you for two reasons. One, it can be heavy, and if the conversation is heavy, we want to ensure that we have space for you to be able to sit with, and process those conversations, that information, because we don't want folks to walk away raw and feeling heavy. And so there is a healing space that is available, and there are folks on the team, on the staff, who can make sure that we're all well when we leave the space, because that for us is primarily important. We also want to, there's the bathrooms are around the corner, so take care of your bio needs. But we also invite you into the conversation. So we have questions prepared, and I'll go through a series of questions with the panelists, but I invite you to share, as you feel comfortable, your experiences, your stories, your questions. This is not one of those hold it to the end types of things. This is more of like a little community chat, a little conversation. Sound good? Awesome. Well, with that, we're going to dive right in. And I'm going to start with you. Sandra, what policies, because you know I love policy, or absence thereof, are most impacting the ability of Black birth workers to operate fully in their power?
The Black body has been legislated on since they captured us from the shores of West Africa. So what policies are not impacting Black bodies, impacting the caregivers who care for Black people and Black bodies? But if I want to make it hyper-focused and be more local to Missouri, one big one are birth centers. Like when we think about policies that are barring us from access to be able to choose where we birth and how we birth, and how caregivers support those birthing people. We're battling with the birthing center piece in Missouri, where it's like this pseudo access to birthing centers, but they have so many stipulations. So for a traditional midwife, for one, as a policy, traditional midwives can't practice legally here in Missouri. And so that's a barrier to access for the type of birthing experience that you want. Or as a birth worker, if I was a traditional midwife, I wouldn't be able to legally practice here. And so you have the certification process where you have to be a CPM or a CNM. And then once you become that, the different barriers to be able to practice, freely in those spaces. You got to have a MD govern you, right? Or you got to operate within this certain health system. And so really being able to execute your practice at the level, at the care and the community level that you may intend is a barrier that we have here locally. So yeah, traditional midwifery barriers, barriers to certification, and then governance if you do have those other certifications for midwifery work. And then you want to go into the doula space. For doula work, it's, there's legislators, and there have been legislators over the last probably 3 sessions that are actively trying to get doula work embedded into the legislation for both public and private insurance coverage. And even in that, we have to come with the eye that is towards community and how, if and how this may bar our work, right? So there's these doula bills that are out, and I throw down with the legislators. I meet with them. I talk to them about their bills. I let them know that it ain't good enough. Because if it's anything like Shepherd-Towner Act, look that up if you don't know it, what may seemingly be good for our people, good for a community, can have trickles or can have threads in the legislation that criminalizes our midwives, Shepherd-Towner, or if we want to move to see a future with governance built into language and bills that could potentially create a road to criminalize doula work, you know what I'm saying? So it's important that as we see champions who want to move in the space to help Black birth work or birth work be more accessible, that we really do look at the language and look at the words, and we do educate them and we share with them how this language, these words can impact us, potentially negatively. And sometimes that can feel icky, you know. I remember, and I think Lora was there, I went a couple of years ago and I testified for a bill that was a doula reimbursement bill, and I told them pretty much it's not good enough. It's not here. It's not what can help really liberate us. And since my work is in unapologetically Black liberation, I have to speak my truth. And so we have to. Those are some present things in Missouri. But when I really look at the analysis, what legislation ain't about Black bodies, and if it's about Black bodies, then it's also about Black birth workers. It's also about Black healers. It's also about people who serve the Black community. And we are on the chopping block through and through. I mean, you think federally, you want to talk about. You want to talk about bans off our bodies, right? You want to talk about how Roe fell. Roe was the floor. However, there was a floor, right? And now that's not there. And the fight that we as womb warriors and womb carriers have to do to say, let me make a choice. And furthermore, in the reproductive justice space, let me have access to that choice, right? So in every way, our bodies are being legislated once again. And in every way, those who care for Black bodies, we are having to like get it in the trenches. And you know, really the silver lining is, or not silver lining, but the Northern Star is to gear up, stay ready, get ourselves ready, self-sufficiency. So go to trainings, CPR trainings, midwifery trainings. Right now I'm doing an herbalism training. We have to get ourselves ready to care for ourselves when policy and when the government is not.
Thank you. Anyone want to add to that?
And I just want to say I would love to live in a place where I get to choose what happens to me and my body, and unapologetically be able to have access to what I need to care for myself. We don't presently live in a place like that. And when I think about the generations that are to follow, that's the why. That is why when I think about what Sandra mentioned about using her voice to make a stand for what she believes in is true for, or what's best for her community. And we don't live in a monolithic community. That's right. So I love being in dialogue because what we're talking about is moving the bar, right? The status quo is not acceptable. So what does it look like to move in the direction that's going to be beneficial, most beneficial for people that look like us? And there's not one way to do that. And so I really do, I appreciate the multiple perspectives, but I also recognize we're talking about how diverse, just our panel alone, right, is representative of that. But I also recognize that the fight is real, whether we're talking about the federal level at the state level, and it's real. I'm looking at Kyra Betts right now, who's strapped up and ready to fight all the time. But even at the local level, when we talk about what can happen, the charity beings on the front lines in the health institutions, that's advocacy. That's policy level changes at her hands, right? That's going to care for people in our community. And we all have an opportunity to play that. So when I think about policy, it can be that big bad word, but it starts with your desire for change.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Big P, Little P policy. Yes. Charity. I'm going to move to you. You ready? Okay. How do ancestral practices show up in your day-to-day work? And what traditions are you preserving or reviving?
Oh, I love that one. So because a lot of my work, as everybody calls me, like the hospital guru, so I will be honest, my passion, I love hospitals. Like, it's a feeling I get when I'm in them. I could walk a hall in any hospital and feel comfortable, right? And do my work anywhere. So what I have been bringing is bringing family back into the birth experience. And with that, it's preparing the family, giving them knowledge, teaching them how to also advocate and speak up for their loved one, as well as they're relearning things that the biggest thing you can say with that one would be like the tradition of a family. An example would be like, just let them doctors do their job. You ain't listening, right? As the person is telling you something feels off, something's wrong. And now they're learning because a lot of it's based in their own traumas because they were taught to just go with it as if this white coat meant like almost like a uniform of police or something, right? Like I'm the law and you have to stick with it. So I come into the room and let them know I am literally no different than you, honey. Yes, you can catch me at Aldi, at the store, right? So it's like, I want you to know that you're talking to me woman to woman, person to person who's also giving birth, family to family, and let's get together here and let's rebuild that village mentality, but I'm arming that family with the knowledge and also presenting it in a way that they can digest it, they can understand it, and have fun with it. Beautiful. So I'm not giving you all these medical terms. I am talking to you just like I would a friend, for example, in postpartum, where I'm like, oh, you want to go home, you want to take it easy, you don't want to experience a prolapse, you don't want to go up and downstairs, and the person's looking at them like, huh? And then I come behind and say, well, actually what she's saying, if you don't go somewhere and sit down, you're going to have a setback, your coochie going to fall out on the floor. You want that to happen to you? And she's like, no. And I'm like, exactly. Now, of course, I'm just giving you exactly the correct terms. Obviously, if I said your uterus could prolapse, right? But I'm giving it to you in a way, I'm meeting you where you are that you can digest it, as well as informing the family, like, oh, well, how can we help up? Get a food train going, bring us some chicken. Y'all got that ready? Y'all getting this going? Is everybody prepared? Making sure that you feel when you're with me that you're also around family. So I could be a sister, mama, auntie, cousin. Whoever you see me as in that experience is who I am to try to help create better birth experience and safe options no matter where you choose to birth. And if it happens to be in the hospital, no matter whether you have to have medication or not, I still want you to have the best experience that we can provide.
Beautiful. Ooh, that community and not feeling alone, yes.
I think that really is that's our ancestral way. Like when you talk about traditions, Black folks, through everything that we've been through, what we bring is fellowship. What we bring is that sister, auntie, cousin, whoever, that you are presented and we receive is Sarabana, like I see you, we see each other. And so that's what it is. Like we have this professionalized titles, right? We doulas and midwives and midwifery work, grand midwives, that's an honor to be titled that. But I had my first herbalism class. I took this class, this is my second time, y'all, but I'm trying to skill up and be ready. Come on. So I'm taking the class again, and the first class was yesterday, and our teacher told us that I cannot certify you or tell you that you are a healer or a herbalist. The person that you heal will name you that. And so that naming, that I see you, that serving of community is our traditional way of being, that across these shores, through enslavement, through Jim Crow, through, I don't say his name, but fascism right now, like we see each other and we serve each other's needs, and whatever title you want to affix to that, we honor each other by seeing each other and carrying us through these channels together.
Beautiful, thank you. Lora, you ready? Okay. How do we broaden the frame to include housing, education, food, and economic justice in conversations about Black birth?
Ooh-wee. I get the tough one, y'all? No. I think I will start by saying this. We don't live separatist lives. Our lives are when we wake up in the morning, when we walk out the door, and we go to work and come back home. All of that is interconnected and related. So to think that we can talk about birth as if it's something that's separate from us, and the people that are part of that journey are a part of community. And so I think about how valuable it is to have a comprehensive view of what this looks like, what health and well-being looks like. That includes where we live matters. When we have a community that we can feel safe in, we've talked about, you all day long, we've talked about what we don't want it to look like. But what do we want it to look like? I mean, we have for so long talked about it's dangerous for a Black woman to give birth. It is. I'm not saying it's not. Right? Right.
Come on.
Right?
Come on. It's dangerous.
But we have to shift that narrative to a positive, valid opportunity of what it looks like to thrive, not just survive. And that is going to take a comprehensive view that goes beyond the walls of our medical community to include, if you all have a mirror, y'all take it out. Y'all know y'all got your cell phones and you do the selfies because it's you.
That's right.
It starts, every single last one of us has a role to play in our communities being healthy and well. So that also includes where we live, where we work, where we play, where we go to school, where our children go to school, that good quality. I'm gonna say, I got a graduate looking for a job. Yo, economics, it matters because it's all interconnected and related. Now, I know Charity and probably Monique, probably Sandra and Risa too, can talk to y'all about what happens in the body when you're under stress. If you can't pay your car note,
listen,
somebody's stressed. If you trying to figure out, okay, we're gonna have to have, somebody was talking about, there is someone that created a blog or a post where she can make $10 meals for her family. I'm like, okay, sign me up. Making sure that you have what you need to be healthy and well. And so I think about that question, it occurs to me, is all interconnected and related, and the way in which we have been trained and taught has been to compartmentalize those parts of our lives as if they just kind of exist independent of themselves. But the more we can connect the dots, and I mean like building coalitions and partnerships that go beyond just because I know you, but no, what would it look like to break outside the norm, the traditional folks that always have been at the table. We got a Dad's the doula guy in the room, right? That's what we're talking about, also including our fathers as a part of this effort. And so I don't know, I think that is more comprehensive way of approaching that.
Beautiful.
Go ahead. And am I on? Yeah.
You on, you on.
Okay. And I agree with that. And so you could have never told me maybe 6 years ago that I'd be in this space, or that my name is ringing bells in Chicago and DC. That's a little scary, but here we are. Again, report cards paid off here. With that being said, as I used to tell people all the time, well, how about we get outside of these hospital walls and actually get out in the community you serve and do something? Get to know the people you serving, because what you tend to forget when you standing here in these scrubs and this uniform is that when you leave this hospital and you're in your regular clothes, or you at your kids' game, or you doing whatever, you're a community member. So help me understand how you can't say something about what's going on and what's wrong when these policies, even in our hospital, make no sense. They are not serving the people we are here for. You need to speak up. And all these fears of whatever the backlash is, I've never cared. I'm like, what they gonna do, fire me? Oh well, get another job. Everybody's hiring, nurses shortage everywhere. Like, let's be real here. Y'all sit here and talk about what the community need without ever asking the community what they need. And nothing gets under my skin like that, which is what, again, pushed me to do so, to start the doula lab, right? And it's just, like you were saying with that, we gotta get out of this lens and not forget that everything that happens in the community affects you. And like you said, stop compartmentalizing. I'm gonna get the word. I got a new retainer, don't judge me. With that being said though, like literally take yourself out of that role and speak up, go up, you know, where the big laws are being made. And the craziness of how different it is between the river of Missouri and Illinois, and speaking as an Illinois representative, and it's not perfect. It clearly ain't, right? But the changes that have been made of them actually starting to hear us and listen to the fact that they just passed a law to integrate doulas into the hospital system, basically saying you have to allow doulas in there. You will not tell them they cannot support their clients. And back on what you were saying with policy, but also hearing us say, no, I didn't say hire us, I don't need to work for you, because that's still your policy. We're saying change your laws where you're telling the client they can't have or don't need us or have to have a referral to get one of us. That is their right to have support. So I just use that as an example, and then I hear, because I drive back and forth so much, it just becomes the norm to me to hear that Missouri is totally different, right? And I know it's like that with a bunch of surrounding states, but eliminate silos, work together from community, big organizations to get out and reach into these people with boots on the ground in the community to help make the change that you, for some reason, can't see outside of your office.
I was going to add a piece, and I'm so happy Lori touched on this, because I think it's important, because what you're saying is that thinking about the mom in a holistic way. And I think the more we think of it in a holistic way, we're touching on what you're pointing out. Like, it's not just about the baby getting here safely, right?
That's right.
Let's take care of the baby. What is the baby doing?
That's right.
You have to take care of the body that's carrying the baby, which is taking care of the environment that contributes to that stress. A mom cannot attend regular appointments if her mood is low. If she's stressed out about job and finances, childcare issues, and you may say, well, why isn't she showing up? She's high risk. Well, if there's these social determinants of health going on every day, that's getting in the way of her care and the baby's care. So you have to, if you care about the baby, you have to then care about the mom and her whole well-being. And in addition to that, it's important to, even in the doula space, like, how do we ask those questions? How do we have those conversations to where they are permitted to say that? You know, there's not always permission to say, you know what, I'm actually not happy about being pregnant. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people who may not be happy about being pregnant or just want it to be different. And that can cause a lot of interruption in their care taking as well. And so paying attention to the mental health and well-being of the mom is also paying attention to that baby. When moms are healthy, you can eat better, right? If you're stressed out, you're gonna go to the quickest thing you can. Trust me, I have lived experience with that. I have 3. You know, the first one, I was like, had all the time in the world because it was my first one, and I was doing all the things. But then you have the second and the third, it's like you have more work to do to be healthy. And so the more stressed you are, I'm at work, I'm caring. Someone asked me about this. And so I think when doulas are working with families, midwives are working with families, really checking in, not just how are you feeling physically, how are you feeling emotionally? What is your day-to-day? How is that showing up? Oh, and I think when you think about physical symptoms, a lot of mental health symptoms show up as somatic symptoms. You may say, I have a headache, oh, I'm constipated. And I think it is overlap with pregnancy. And I think a lot of that gets overlooked, because you might say, well, that's a part of pregnancy. Your hormones are doing that. It could be your stress is doing that. You're eating this, and if you switch that, you have more water, then you feel better. And so just making sure that mental health wellness is integrated in this holistic way that Lori is talking about, so we don't miss opportunities to then invite that conversation about mental health wellness.
Ooh, stay there. Because that was my question for you, was what does it look like to embed emotional and psychological care within the broader birth work ecosystem? And so you started to touch on it, and so I'm gonna give you some more space.
Thank you. I do think some of what I'm saying is upfront, asking about trauma histories, asking about mental health histories, asking about, do you have any fears about pregnancy? What is your social support? Because these are the risk factors that contribute to developing mental health conditions. And I know Lori said we don't want to get too into the scary data, but it is very true that 1 in 5 women do suffer from a mental health condition in pregnancy and postpartum. And Black women in particular do 2 to 3 times more likely to have depression and not get treated. So that in and of itself should say we should be talking about it up front before the pregnancy, during the pregnancy, and postpartum. And also in the education, we say, like, what are these interventions that we're going to be providing? Or what the mom wants, what is her ideal? That's important to say, like, what interventions you want and don't want. But what about the women who have physical violence done to their bodies, who have sexual assault done to their bodies? Are we asking them and preparing them to be in the birthing spaces without re-traumatizing them? So doing trauma-informed birthing plans when you're working with them to say, like, who do you want in the room? There are going to be people touching you. How do we reduce the re-traumatization of that? Warning people what that looks like. Because a lot of people go in there and they're not aware of it. Even though I work in the birthing space, labor and delivery room is a whole event that's going on in there that is moving very quickly. The more you know, the more you're prepped for it, the more you're saying, like, hey, your body might do this. How are we going to work together to prevent that? What measures do you need in place? What coping strategies? What does the space needs to look like, smell like? What do you need to see on the television? What do you want the doctor to do? Do you want a student in the room? Nope, we don't want a student in the room. So I think all of those is incorporating trauma-informed practices, making sure mental health support is available and accessible, and making sure all the people who are providing the health, I love I don't know which one of you said it, everybody is a healer. So not saying, like, wait to see Monique as a mental health expert. You all are doing a lot of the mental health interventions before they even need to see a mental health expert. So why not arm all of our birthers with common knowledge about perinatal mental health? What are the signs and symptoms of that? How do we ask about self-harm? So I think arming everybody with the same knowledge kind of reaches it kind of increases the workforce because there's not enough of mental health professionals available. Ooh, go ahead.
Okay, also from the provider standpoint of it, as I told a lot of people, y'all listen just to respond. You ain't heard the word she said. And that part is the problem, right? Like, a lot of it is so textbook. So, and I've said this, and that doesn't matter if it's Black or white, whoever, because again, we know all skin folk ain't kin folk, right? And some of them get so wrapped up in it, because I understand it's a lot of work. I know you learn these things and you literally memorize it to the T, to the fact that you can't see what she really got going on to understand that, no, actually, it's hypertension, but why? Why every time she come in here, when she see y'all, her blood pressure rise? Or, again, to give them the skills or just get to know them better on that level. Stop treating somebody like a number, you in and out. They don't feel of any value in here. So my biggest thing, no matter what space, if it's the first time or the umpteenth time you've seen them, stop listening to respond and actually sit down and listen to a person. And you have to build up a relationship. Everybody ain't got the gift to walk in and read the room in 5 to 15 minutes and make somebody comfortable enough to tell you their life story. Right. But you need to be able to read the room and tell by this person's responses how they react, and that it's something deeper, and we need to figure out a way to build that relationship. Or if you don't have the skill set to do so, work with the others. That's why you have a collaboration team that can help get that knowledge that you need to help better take care of this person.
Beautiful. I love that.
And I wanted to add one piece too before we move, because the postpartum period too gets left behind. And I just want to highlight too that 4th trimester, that was important. I was joking in a conversation and saying, like, when there's so many deaths that happen every day and so many births that happen every day, but when that death happens, people bring food. You know what I mean? And the processional is going on, we kind of see the car line and we just kind of pay our respects. What if with the rite of passage of becoming a mom, there's more of a celebration? There's the community and the villages showing up to say, like, you are entering it and we got you. We are supporting you. If you need something, what can we do? And we do that in death, but why not in birth? You know, and then also all the moms who have lost. How do we still support that grief? I think it's, again, getting the pregnancy here, and then if it doesn't happen, everybody still disappears. There's still a lot of emotional scarring there, and that needs to be taken care of as well. And I'm sorry, go ahead, Sandra.
No, it's so many little popcorn parts that I'm like writing down, I want to comment on. One of the first that I thought about and then wanted to trickle down to something you said too, is like, it's dangerous. I wanted to, like, again, owning that narrative and reclaiming our narratives about how we birth, who we birth, how we honor our birth. And it was shared that it's dangerous for us to give birth. And I just wanted to add the ... in America.
In America.
Because Black people, we have birthing practices and birthing ways that go beyond pre-colonial periods where we thrive in our birth. And somehow, some way, even in this here today, we can find a way to find joy and still thrive today in birth. And yes, it is dangerous for Black women, Black mages, Black birthing bodies to give birth in America. So I wanted to make sure to add that onto that narrative. And then you asked a question about how do we broaden the frame? You can't have a reproductive justice advocate up here without talking about a framework. Because in 1994, the women of African descent, who they called themselves, they gathered together in Chicago and they created a framework for us to be not only talking about do we have access to an abortion. They said beyond access, our Black birthing people, some of us, we want to have kids and a lot of kids. And there's this stereotype about, you know, the Black mama, the, what do they call us?
Welfare queen.
Yeah, the welfare queen and things of that nature that was very prevalent today, but in the 90s, I'm putting that to context. And so those founding women of reproductive justice said that we want to have the human right to have a baby if we want, and as many babies as we want without the stereotype, and to not have a baby if we don't want to. So to be able to practice that bodily autonomy. And another part of it, which goes into the question that you asked Lora, is to raise the children that we choose to have in thriving communities, right? And then later on, we had our LGBT community come in up on the reproductive justice space and add more of that bodily autonomy and making sure we have access to health care for our LGBTQ community. So to answer your question, the reproductive justice framework is there. It's there. We have the answers for us. We always had the answers for us. So the women of African descent, as they named themselves in 1994, they were just speaking the truths of what our ancestors did when they took that cotton root bark and didn't accept mass as baby, of what our ancestors did when they jumped off that ship and said, I won't go to a land that I don't know. So we have the framework in our bloodline, and we were able to articulate and name it in 1994, and it's something that we can definitely depend on right now, and it's something that I live in the work that I do. I shared that I'm a doula, but I didn't share all of my titles and everything that I do, but I get down with farmers, because I know that land stewards who are connected with the land, you know, gonna help teach me a little bit something. I shared that I'm doing herbalism, but I also work with an organization called Invest STL, and my job and my work there is neighborhood and community people-centered development, so that the vision of that work is that every community in St. Louis is a chosen place for people. And so I'm sure there are several birth workers in the room, and I'm sure you're not only doing birth work. We do it all. You know, we're doing childcare, we're doing education, we're doing policy work, you know, and that big P policy work. We are doing whatever it takes for us to all be free, right? And that is an intersectional, it's not a monolith, it's not a silo type of work or struggle. It's not something that we check in and out of 9 to 5. It is a work that takes our full presence. And so, yeah, I get down with those farmers, I get down in the neighborhood work, I get down in the herbalism space, I get down in many spaces, because I started as a birth worker, and I was like, okay, I'm helping some birthing people have babies. And I'm like, but when they go home, and then I thought about myself and my son, I'm like, well, I'm struggling in the education space. Where am I gonna, like, I am in this capitalist system and I go to work, so my son needs to be somewhere, right? But I ain't trying to put him up in these schools here, so I gotta get down in the education space. Then I'm like, okay, my son is 5, you know, we're at a different level. But my community, where do I live? Like, where's access to grocery stores? Okay, I gotta get down with farmers, you know what I'm saying, like that. So in that, we live and breathe the intersections of reproductive justice every day, and the work that we do, since we don't clock out of it, it's already it's already there. But in the framework, I just want to offer that to the audience, that there is a framework that currently exists that has been articulated, has researched, has celebrated with 31 years now, and that is the reproductive justice framework. So if you're looking to see the intersections of how beyond birth, but growing into the Black liberation spaces that we want to be in, check out that reproductive justice framework.
Awesome.
And tap in with that.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to marinate on something you said right there. And I'm listening to the tremendous work that we're doing, and we understand that it's all interconnected, and we also understand that it is hard work, but it is heart work. So I want to pivot a little bit, and I want to ask you, what do you need, each of you respectively and us collectively, to be whole and to thrive in the work that we're doing? Because we're not going to pretend like there's not an opportunity to take on some of the weight of those who we get to be in community with. So what do you need from community in order, whatever that means for you, because we all navigate in multiple intersections of community, to be whole and to thrive in the work that you do?
I'll jump in, Risa, here, because I've really been giving some thought to this, having been in this work for so long. The thing that it's even challenging and difficult for me to even share this, but rest. Mm-hmm. That in community, I would want somebody to say, and Charity, Risa, say this to me. Go sit down somewhere. Mm. For real, because my motor is to keep going, because we ain't done yet. But in order for you to be whole, in order for you to be, I'm gonna say your personal best, whatever that is, you gotta rest. And I am learning, I think kids teach you that, but I am learning the power of rest. So that would be it for me.
Thank you, Lora.
So, yeah, I need balance personally, more so, because I do a lot. And again, it's very much hard work. And the community that I serve does get my all. But a lesson learned from it, and I had to hear it from my son a few years ago, the community gets the mom I don't have. And that ate me alive. I was like, I beg your highest pardon, right? But he wasn't lying, because I take everything, the stress that I take outside that door, and without learning how to balance and leave it at that door. So when I come in the house now, why all these dishes? Why you ain't do that? I haven't even greeted my son, gave him a hug. I had to realize how long I went without really showing him affection, because I just came home with, why you ain't do this? Why you ain't do that? What is this? You know, it gotta be this, Jaden, you know better, right? And it took a minute, and again, I give him that space to speak, and that hit me literally like a bag of bricks that, you know, wow, wish I got to see that side of her. So I thought about going in the future, you know, whenever it's my time to go, I would never want all these people to go up to the stage and tell all these great stories about me, and my son sit there and say, I wish I knew that version of her. So for me, it's balance, and I've been doing a whole lot more, again, reality, like, oh my God, my baby's gonna be 18, making sure that I'm present for him, because for this 5 years that I just went insane trying to get this work done, and I've achieved a lot, I missed out on a lot of the person who I owe the world to.
Ooh, thank you for sharing that. That is so real.
Right.
That's in me. Yeah.
I think for me, there's two things. The first is, I didn't lead with this because it just depends on what space I am. So I work for Washington University School of Medicine and Department of Psychiatry. And I think what would make me whole is if the academic institution that I'm associated with in certain spaces didn't carry such a, there's a prestige that gets carried with it, but there's also a judgment that gets carried with it. And sometimes I'm navigating that. You know, as a personal human, I'm invested in the community, and I want to see, and there are lots of people within WashU who also are like that. And so what I think for me, what would make me whole in this is that me understanding that it's not, that has to be earned, and there's consistency and showing up, and then just modeling that, and then hopefully then the community, the partnerships that are trying to be strengthened, that takes place, and then that produces support of each other. So like our institutions really being a part of writing grants on behalf of some of these community organizations, and then we're in partnership and doing some of those things. So that for me would make my work just a lot easier, because you show up and you're just trying to fight in and you're like, I don't know, watch you. You know what I mean? It's like mixed feelings sometimes depending on what space you're in. And the other thing I think is, this is more of a policy thing, is that there was better reimbursement rates for mental health services. It's hard to do some of this social services work that we're doing when it's not appreciated at the same medical level as surgery, you know what I mean, anesthesiology. Mental health is equally important, and a lot of times contributes to some of these higher chronic diseases. And so you wish that government reimbursement rates were better, and then that way we could continue to provide better care and not get burnt out so much.
Yeah, oh, that's good.
Grant, like chasing. You know?
Yeah, powerful.
Well, when you said it, that's my brain that started like, what, this a nice, nigga, that went out. Shows you how much prep I did for that. So, because you said you read it before, and I said, oh, I didn't read that part. Okay. But you asked, what do you need or collectively need to be whole in the work that we do? The first thing I thought, I was like, my wholeness is not in my work. I wanted to say that right away. I shifted some years ago from even writing a to-do list. I write a to-be list. How do I want to be present in this day? And so actively dismantling capitalism and colonialism, ways of being, which we are swimming in, so it has to be super duper active, which is why, like off the bat, I'm like, my wholeness ain't in my work. My work is my service, it's my offering, it's what I give to community, it's what I receive, is what I give. Like I'm, fluid in that vessel, right? But then I thought about, not in my work, but just in my beingness. I just want to be in joy. Yeah. What I need is joy, laughter, fellowship, us being us. Yeah. Restoration, spaces, sacred spaces for healing, sacred spaces for ritual. And I just like imagine in my heart, and it's like a vision, but it's also like coming from the past when we honored just different developmental stages, and we held ritual around those stages. Like I need that to have that deeper connection with what's happening around, that it's beyond just this moment in time and this period, which is my life in this body. To speak to your part about postpartum, something I started offering to my birthing families is that we'll do this postpartum ceremony where just to love on the mama, to love on the birthing body, and to help to restore from whatever traumas they may experience in birth, and also to honor the joy of what that birth was. And even before birth, I offer to my families, I call it African birth ceremony or whatever. It was a gift that was offered to me before when I was pregnant, where a circle, I think it originated from indigenous folks. It's called a blessing way. Mother blessing ceremony is what I call it, African mother blessing ceremony, but I also recognize that it originated from indigenous to these lands folks and they called it a blessing way. And so I had a blessing way gifted to me, and it wasn't a baby shower. It was about celebrating me coming into mamahood. Beautiful. And so I offered that to my my birthing families as well, to celebrate just being and create ritual and create sacredness and create like, this is a big deal type of stuff. So I need that. I need that. And I need moments of that, because in this work that we do, especially because it's on a timeline and dollar line of like these grants, as was mentioned, and all that stuff like that. A lot of my work, I'd be outside of grants myself, personally. But it's to realize like, this is beyond this funnel of money. That's like, right. It's sacred. So we have to heal and just be present as humans with it and just be. So that's what I need. I need to hold space for sacred gatherings. I need to be seen as a human first and not as a doer. I'm not a doer, I'm a human, which is why I introduce myself as a being of love, light, and energy before I even talk about a title or talk about a job. And I just want to be in joy and fellowship and double dutch with my people. I
Yes,
carry a
double
double dutch rope around with me. So anybody want to
love
jump, I got my rope in
that.
the car, like just to do stuff like that. And we
that.
do learn it from the kids. And I
Yeah.
learn it from my son and being present with them. And him helps me to just like get out of this elitist academia headspace and be like, no, I've been wanting to cross my legs and take my shoes off and sit in this chair for a minute. Like being able to lean into those spaces of just being human.
Yeah, beautiful. Charity?
I do have a little small part, and I agree, especially when it comes to a very sensitive subject, these grants. I am exhausted with begging for, and I mean, I'm probably misquoting it, but in the words of Beyonce, what's already mine. I shouldn't have to fight, squeeze, beg, jump through 100 hoops, not only to prove that my program works, because I know my people that you have no clue about, that y'all making policy, making all these things, or you give it to these big organizations, no shade to them, because I know we all need it, but they not boots to the ground in the community helping. And you got small organizations like myself, like others like Generate Health, all these other places, right? And I'm just naming a few pop in my head, who it's almost like you gotta, some places like myself again, you gotta fight tooth and nail to get it, to prove that your program works and that you gonna do the work to serve the people that you know the best. And I just sometimes, they just find it to be so insane that we have to literally beg and plead. And that's why we get burnt out so bad, because as much as we wanna do all these great things, if I gotta work 2 full-time jobs still, I'm exhausted. That's why my son ain't seeing me, and I'm trying to go to school, and we trying to do all these things. So it ain't even just about saving the world, it's about having the head start as you give, again, these other organizations that had to start somewhere to get ahead, right? Like these hospitals started with nuns and things of that nature. We are grassroots organizations, and we can become bigger organizations and develop and create jobs and save and better our communities with the proper funding. But we shouldn't have to do all this begging and jumping through hoops and stress just to receive what rightfully belongs to us.
Thank you. How y'all doing? You still good out there? I want to pause for a second because I want to open the floor. If y'all have any questions, yes, girl, get comfortable. Any, you amongst friends, thoughts, comments, questions? We have a microphone.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Dajae Bradshaw. I work on the addiction science team here at UMSL MIMH. And my question is for Sandra. You do a lot of work in policy. I'm hopefully going to be doing my work in policy, but I work in harm reduction, like Black harm reduction. And I wanted you to kind of talk about the impact of like war on drugs policies to birthing Black people, and how you see that, you know, kind of changing, or what you think we should do in community to help change that.
You said the impact of what?
War on drug policies on Black people who give birth.
Okay.
War on drugs, okay.
Yeah.
So ask your question again in a different way so I can understand.
Okay. What are policies in the war on drug policies? How are they impacting Black people who give birth? And then also, how do you see us moving forward with that?
Like I said, in every way, like really, our bodies are legislated. But this war on drugs, the war on drugs, which I don't remember how many decades ago began, but we know it was really an attack on the Black people, on the Black body. And it really, I be in reflection with my sisters and just folks in my generation about what happened to the generation before us that we've got this gap, right? And my sister highlights to me how the drug epidemic happened, but coinciding with that is this so-called war on drugs. But I'm like, they really planted the drugs in our communities anyway. And so as a way to police us, right? As a way to make us addicted, but then also to police us at the same time. And that policing of the body goes into the reproductive body as well. And so I don't know if I'm answering your question just as much, but I know I'm excited about what you're bringing up as it relates to how policies in the world, you know, the war on drug policies and things of that nature really is another way to control and govern us, to govern our bodies, to govern our ways, to govern what we're doing. So that's my response. Did you have something deeper for that?
No, I was just...
Go ahead, Monique.
Well, I'm going to just add to what you said. Earlier, someone mentioned fathers. I think that's what happens. And when you have single households, that increases stressors for finances, for time to do for yourself. And so when this war on drugs, kind of its policies are being created, it's still impacting the family, because again, we're thinking holistically. It's not just mom, it's not just baby, it's the whole family. And so when you have families that are disrupted, then the baby's going to be disrupted, and then mom's going to be disrupted. So I think those policies do affect the family as a whole.
All right, real quick. The war on drugs is a scam. I'm just going to be honest with you here, and even rates and stats showed it. Don't let the media have fooled you, even from that time period of Ronald Reagan and his wife, whatever. Anywho, it was a scam. Again, the drugs, as you know, were put in the communities of us, but even then, we still didn't have the same numbers as our white counterparts of addicted to drugs. And then when it really started to affect those of wealthier communities, hence the opioid epidemic, now is rehabilitation. That was just, like she said, a way to police us, let on our bodies, and enslave us, so that we can go down to that prison line, so you can create more enslaved workers for pennies. And that's a whole another thing you'll get into. But it's the media that projects that and try to give us these images of us to make us look like we are uncivilized, we animals, we all this, we just letting our babies roam and calling our babies crack babies and things of that nature. The children perfectly fine, right? And the numbers do not match what the media projected. So again, the war on drugs is just a media, honestly, in my opinion, scam. And there are more, again, of our counterparts addicted to opioids and other drugs than it is us on the drugs.
Yeah.
And it doesn't address the systemic, I'm sorry,
Right. Go ahead,
it
go
doesn't
ahead.
address the systemic issues that leads to the drug use and the drug distribution.
Yeah.
And so that's the bigger thing that needs to be called out here, you know what I mean, is that this didn't just start happening in families. I mean, this starts from education, from communities, and how this becomes like a go-to for certain families. And so we can't talk about that without talking about the systemic and historical kind of context of Black families.
Yeah, and that's what I would add to that, is saying that we create narrative and language. Language is powerful, that creates context, and it also then inspires action. So when we have what is called like the deserving and the undeserving poor, if I can create a picture that causes you to believe that whomever is experiencing crisis or whatever they're experiencing is their fault, and obscure all of the factors that contribute to the condition, then the interventions that we create are going to be very different. And so a lot of it, I love what you said about reclaiming our narrative and contextualizing the actual problem, because while it may be narrative, the outcome is very real for families and communities that have been decimated because we accepted and appropriated a language that led to harmful images, belief systems, and patterns that created interventions that actually exacerbated the harm that was being done in communities.
Further, the war on drugs, as Monique was sharing, like really disenfranchised our community and took away, well, I would say, some of our geniuses. Our drug dealers are geniuses. Like when you talk about moving the market, when you talk about
entrepreneurship,
and think about the time period when that became the call to action. This is war on drugs. Civil rights is at its peak, right? And you talk about geniuses for movements, the Black Panther, you know. So, and how they a war on drugs now, planting the drugs and causing a war on drugs, really just to raid those who are in movement spaces. And then as we talk about, what is it, the right to bear arms. And so if there's drugs and guns, you know, now they're taking away our guns, like to protect and defend ourselves. So when you think about the war on drugs and its multifaceted strategy to disenfranchise Black liberation and Black movement and Black people, it's not only about drugs, but that is what the media can, you know, hyper sensationalize and make it seem like it's the individual's fault. But really, it was a way to really disenfranchise Black liberated people and take our geniuses and put them in prisons, remove our father figures in our heads from our communities, right? Then to create these welfare mamas and, you know, it's the individuals, Black people, something wrong with them. But no, it was a war tactic itself.
Scam. As a student, you were referencing the question. I also think about where the opportunity for leveraging your genius. At what point do you want, or can you interrupt these systems so that they are in service to? So whether we're talking about at the federal level, that's a whole nother ball game. Where we're talking about the state and the local, and then at the institutional level, or even just within your own community. So there's so many opportunities for you to think about, where do you want to enter this race? Like, there is a place for you, finding your place. But there is a lot to choose from. And it doesn't have to be just one singular, right? But understanding how they interrelate and connect, as the panel discussed. Not thinking about it in just a micro level, but really thinking about the macro impact of the policies that are in play and what they're in service to. So there's so many opportunities for you to enter.
Thank you.
Oh, they want to clap in a moment? My bad. I did.
You clap.
Oh,
Thank you. My name is Melanie Marie. I'm a board member with the Michael Brown Senior Chosen for Change organization. Thank you all for creating this space. So our mission is to assist fathers and families who are processing the unthinkable. And I wanted to attend today because, you know, life is about balance. You know, where there's up, there's down. Where there's life, there's death. And we work in the grief space. So I wanted to know more about the strategies or empathetic tools that you may use as doulas to prepare for the unfortunate event that there's a grief experience, both for the family and for yourself personally in this space as practitioners.
Ooh, that's a tough one. For myself, in the moment of it happening, like in the actual birth experience, whether the family knew or something happens during that time and it's unexpected, I can show up in that space. And I even, for example, if it's telling the room to be silent, right? Making sure people don't say the wrong things, like while they're in the hospital room, like, oh, you know, you can just try again. That's like the worst thing you could say, you know, or when we misuse, as I would say, misuse like God or something, saying as if you said this was a part of God's plan, that'll make that person turn away. Or not hearing them and dismissing them by saying to just pray about it. I don't care if that woman that family wants to scream, shout, let it out. Give them that time, right, to process. Now, once they go home and they're out of my scope, I try to make sure, not just a referral by giving you a piece of paper, I'm gonna call and make sure this place is open, they available. I need you to get these people in. If I gotta set up an appointment, or if I gotta call my other doula friends, because there are doulas who specialize in that space of grief and loss. I know for a fact that it's not me in that postpartum space, because that family needs lots of love. They need somebody almost on call around the clock for them. And I'm unable to be that person for them. So I am big on working together, calling out to people to make sure we got something in alignment for them to support them through that experience. And whether it's a later loss, whether it's miscarriage, you know, it could be an ectopic pregnancy, it could be anything that goes on that affects you not having the outcome you desired, and just making sure there are people available who actually will show up for them in the home space, making sure their family knows and is educated to understand the process. Like, she's still gonna lactate, breast milk still gonna come. Don't say ignorant things. If that person wants to pump, and because that's their way of dealing and connecting with it and store that milk, that's her prerogative. She may decide to donate it later, but not forcing what you think she should be doing on her, or forcing her to like get over it because you're over it. So that's my portion in that space.
And what about you? What do you do for you, Bean?
Me? What?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Because you know me. You wrong
missed
for
the
that.
other part.
Too many people in this
That's
room know
important.
me. It's
We are
true.
practitioners in this work.
I am still working on that. What do I do to take it off? Because again, like I said, a lot of my stuff don't show up till I get home. I can navigate, even though sometimes in the moment, especially if it's unexpected, I have to go in like a locker room or something and just hide and cry it out. I've cried it out with people at the moment, but then because of the space I'm in the hospital, I ain't got long before I gotta go to the next space, or the phone ringing, somebody calling. And unfortunately for me, because that's been the space I've been in medical field in general, you've been trained, you gotta move on, you don't have time. So by the time it shows up for me later on, at home or months down the line, I don't even realize where it's coming from. So that is something that I've been working on myself, and knowing how to give myself space, grace, and time to process the fact that I just saw and experienced a trauma as well. And for a while I had like a disconnect because it wasn't happening to me, but not realizing I was taking that with me. Just had to slide that in there.
And did you just want to hear from the doulas, or did you want to hear from everyone? Okay, okay, thanks. So I think for me, that's primarily what I do. I'm seeing grief, and not only just physical loss. There's lots of losses that can happen in a pregnancy. Loss of the experience, what you thought it was going to be, especially if there's a C-section or a preterm birth or something like that. So I'm dealing with various facets of loss. And I think the important element is to not try to fix it right away. There's a level of discomfort for a lot of people when someone is grieving, and to try to fix it. And so when you know, families show up, you know, I kind of let them know, like, from day one, I can't fix it. You know what I mean? That there's going to be a process involved. And also, it's important not assuming that I know how they feel about this loss, because grief can be very complex. Some people may have a sense of relief, depending on the circumstances, depending on the prenatal diagnoses, depending on lots of circumstances. So again, not assuming you must feel so sad here. You have to give space for someone to actually describe and have them feel safe, whatever emotion that they're going through, to be able to bring that to the table. And actually, you know, there's, you know, obviously protocols for it, so meaning making out of the experience if it can be done. And just knowing that it's just gonna happen in ups and downs, roller coasters. So you may have good and bad days, and that's okay. And then how do you give yourself permission for those who are really longing for maybe that to be different, having permission to say, can I have still pleasure moments, hold space for both? I can be happy, I can laugh, and I can also be sad. Because I think sometimes when we are going through grief, we tend to think if we are happy, that means we don't care about that loss. And it's important to say, like, we're human, we have a range of emotions, so we can be happy during the day, and that's okay. And you can also be sad if something else comes up. So we're really giving space for the human spectrum of emotion when someone is going through grief.
Beautiful. Okay, so again, honoring time. We're at 3:13 already. It has really been just an honor to be in space and community with you. And I'd like to invite each of you, as we're preparing to go off and do all the other wonderful things with this wonderful summit, to plant your feet on the floor, sit comfortably in your chairs, and I invite you to call into your mind, whether it be an ancestor or a child or someone that with whom you are connected, who makes you feel loved and seen and honored and valued. And I just want to spend some time in these last few moments with them and feeling the love and the connection. We are all interconnected in this space and generationally, and I invite you to take a deep cleansing breath, to breathe in love, and to exhale A lot is happening in the world. Keep breathing deeply. And a lot of it threatens our joy and our peace. But despite all that is happening, we are each here for a purpose, with a purpose, on purpose. Thank you for being in this space. And I would love for you to walk away knowing that you are valued, you are loved just because you are. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You can clap now. It was hesitant. I was going to do it. I was
3:15.
on the dot.
Okay, Risa let us out at 3:15, but I also wanted to answer your question, Melody. One, in preparation for like the unthinkable or for grief is to hold sacred space. For grief, some things that I have done for my birthing people is to have ceremony around grief. And so to honor the presence of the life form that was and however it came to be, and to hold ceremony to honor its transition. Because, you know, with birth work, we do stand at the veil. The ones that come through, they can choose to come through or not. And we as birth workers usher that and hold that space with them. And so in however that life form has been present, I like to honor it with sacred ceremony and hold space for clients through whatever life transitions there are. And that holding space may look like listening. It may look like rubbing and patting, hugging. I bring waters. I usually bring the elements of the earth into the space. So water, and, you know, some plants or things of that nature. Create circle for that forever circle around that ceremony. And to just be intentional about holding that space and transitioning. So that's something that I've done with clients. For myself, I go to my doula sisters, not just doula in the sense that they've been trained as doulas, but people who care for me. Brothers and sisters, I go to space with them to be held in ceremony. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I would just add, I have struggled in that space for a while, and I remember the first time of experiencing someone that had a traumatic experience. And I remember being at that juncture saying, as that Scooby-Doo, whoa, 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 I did not know what to do. And now looking back on that experience, I just be present. And that person wasn't expecting more or less, but I can do that. And so that is a gift that I give, and it's one that I don't take lightly, being present. But being present means you gotta turn all this stuff off, right? And be present. And that is part of the gift. So that's kind of what I do.
Yes.
Boy,
It is so cold in here. So cold.